Mark, good afternoon. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right, sir.
Well, good. We're good. Hey, I'm excited about what you guys are doing. I know you've got a lot of people's ear today in the racing world as well as the manufacturing world, and I can't wait to hear what's new and exciting about what we can get prepared as far as the products that we need to put in your machines and how we need to make our stuff better because of your machines. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, it's made sense to me. It's made sense for decades. It needs to make sense for everybody else out there in the racing world and the machine shop world.
Well, tell us about your machines and what you specialize in as far as the products that you recommend for machinists and manufacturing companies that need to have stuff, polished, however you want to terminology on
it. The best way to describe it is our parts or our equipment makes your parts better. Okay. We don't make the machine. We make, or we make the machine. You make the parts. You make this beautiful part, but now the problem is it's got burrs, it's got oils. The surface finish might not be exactly. We can, by you using our equipment, whether it be vibratory, centrifugal barrel, slurry blaster, washer, whatever the case is, we're improving your parts to make it easier for you.
I think I got the line for you. And I'm not trying to steal your thunder or anything, but I'm going to try this on you. See what you think about this.
Go right ahead.
We finish what you start.
We've got that already. We've had it for years.
That's why I say it's got to be something along that line. And to me, that's the perfect deal. If you've got it, then you don't need me to tell you about it. But still, that's what popped in my mind sitting there thinking, you guys have got ceramics, you got plastics, you got all kinds of ways to make sure you finish what you've already started. We can put a finish on it to make you happy.
Correct. It looks like we have Chris Kovich, who joined us. He is my young up-and-coming videographer slash office assistant slash lab assistant. Plan is to go out and see what we got on the floor, a couple of machines that for those of us for those people who haven't seen any vibratory machines running. But anyway, getting back to what you were saying with the finishing what you start. Here we got the Model Wedge 5. What Chris is showing off right now is probably our most popular machine out there on the market. It's a one size fits most. Okay. It's a 19 by 35.5-inch compartment, lining to lining. That current one that you see there, we're getting it ready. As soon as we're done here, we're going to pack it up and ship it down to Indianapolis. We got that PRI show next week. We'll be exhibiting once again. But this is a great machine for crankshafts. Okay. Ring and pinions, all type, headers, all types of either machine components, fabricated parts, large stampings. There's numerous different things that you could put in there. Guys, can you hear me? You want to fire that machine up for them? Oh, there, they got it running. Nice tumbling action that we got going. And I don't know if we get a close-up of the media.
I was going to say, what type of media do they have in there?
What they have in there is a high-density ceramic media. That one's a 60-degree angle. It's been designed actually for the gear industry, okay, to get into the valleys in between the teeth. It's very commonly used. Some guys use it, that media alone, but also in conjunction, mixture with other medias for a chemically accelerated process. I know many in the racing world have heard of the ASF or REM process or isotropic. There's, numerous different processes or similar process to that. But that media is fantastic for precision machine shops as well, because it's got the sharp angle to get into the little nooks and crannies, little points where a lot of medias can't get into because they would either it won't fit or it would get lodged, whatever the case may be. But
okay, in watching what's going on there, it seems to me. I mean, I would have thought looking at that right there would hurt your hand when you put it in there. You know, they should it went through there like they did, and then I seen him chunk the ring gear inside there, and I see it going around and coming back up and going around there, coming back up. How long does that piece need to stay in? And then number two, is it one piece at a time, or can you put the pinion to go in there with the ring gear?
That's a loaded question. Okay. And there's many different variables. For instance, it depends on how much part on part contact is going to be deemed acceptable. Okay. Right now they got that machine running close to full blast. First off, our machines come standard with variable frequency drive. So you can really dial down the action of the machine and manipulate it so it's soft. So it'd be more or less of a incidental contact versus a collision. Now, if I'm dealing with critical surface finishes, absolutely, I don't want any part-on-part touching, okay? You're gonna wanna put in a divider or maybe fixture the part, you know, to keep those parts from digging into each other.
Right.
As far as how long that sits in there, that depends on how good of a job you do machining or making your part versus what's going to be deemed acceptable. What looks good to you might look like crap to me, or vice versa. Okay, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. The better job you do machining, the less time it's going to have to spend in our machine to fix your part or make it better.
In that particular case, what are we talking about? And again, I'm not trying to hold your feet to the fire, but throwing that ring gear in there, how long should it take? If we did a good job, how long should it take your machine to finish it off?
Okay, I'll answer that a couple different ways. For instance,
okay,
for like the chemically accelerated process, like the ASF or REM, you're probably, for a ring and pinion gear, I've seen 4-hour cut times with a 1 to 2 hour burnish. So we'll call it six hours, okay, for something like that. I've seen some up to 20, okay, and others we've done more of a traditional cut and polish. It could be done in maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours. But like I said, it's gonna, that's really is a loaded question because it depends on where you start and where you need it to get to. Not all customers are the same. They've all got different finishing requirements. Some guys just want, you know, just for aesthetics. Other guys, you know, more for precision or for performance. They require real low surface finish, and those take time. Okay,
right.
To get, you know, the best things come to those who wait.
Do you ever find that with the customer, because of what they're asking for, do you ever put a part in one of your machines and then transfer it to another machine to do a final?
Absolutely.
You know, basically change the media stuff.
Yes, all the time.
Okay. All right.
Okay, there are multiple step processes, and that's done. You know, sometimes it might be a 2 or 3 step process. For instance, heavy aggressive cut in a ceramic, then maybe we'll go to a plastic media for a surface refinement, and then we can do a wet or a dry polish. In a wet polish would be done in like a porcelain or like a high density ceramic, or maybe a dry polishing cop. For instance, prior to the show or to all shows, whether, you know, like I said, next week they're polishing up a bunch of parts right now. We use our Mf3v Polishing cop, or Mf3 if I'm going to finish it in centrifugal barrel. It puts that showroom finish, or, you know, the whole nother level. When you walk in, it's that gleam, that bling to it. And people, I mean, people's eyes are like, whoa, you know, that's pretty. Now, do you need your parts to look like that? Most likely not. But let's be honest, shiny sells. I mean, if I can help you make your parts look like that versus your competitions, okay, what are people going to buy? If it's, say, apples to apples, say it's the same price, they're going to buy the shiny, the prettier looking part. It just looks more appealing. Okay. Now, I will tell you, there is one downfall, okay, to having it. And then the only thing is going to highlight the imperfections. So what I've done is I've highlighted, you know, what a shitty part somebody made. Okay. Or say it was a bad metal. Okay. That it just exposed all the imperfections in it.
Now, with the machine we're looking at here, you can change out the media and do this in this, you know, keep using that same machine.
That's correct.
Or is it, again, if you're a large manufacturing company, you need more than one machine, obviously, right?
Correct. What we have is a lot of guys that start off, if it's a multiple step process, they'll start with one machine. And then depending on their production, going back, if you don't have the production to justify it, take baby steps and go back and forth. However, once your production picks up and you realize, hey, going back, you know, this is a pain in the ass. Okay. You can do it in about 5-10 minutes. Okay. However, if you go from, the problem is when you go from wet to dry, okay, dry process, set it aside, leave it alone. You just dedicate machinery for that. It's basically a base machine, solid drain, and polishing cob, and just let it go. The wet, you got to deal with the different medias, the different chemistries, and it's, you know, a little more of a recipe.
Gotcha.
And there's thousands of different sizes, shapes, and compositions of medias. Okay, ceramics, plastics, synthetics, steels, and, you know, there's all different levels. You've got your high density ceramics, which is popular in the chemically accelerated with that ASF process or REM process, or isotropic. And you've got your aggressive cuts, and then your longer lives, and all different things. I mean, everybody wants the most efficient media. There's no one media that's going to be one media and one machine to solve all your problems.
Okay. With that being said, accessibility to the media. I mean, is your place the only one who handles it, or are there other companies out there that can, you know, can sell, you know, what you need for your machines?
There are numerous companies out there. Okay. However, it's in today's day and age, it's what's in stock. Okay.
Okay.
As far as giant finishing, we have we are mainly an equipment manufacturer. Okay. We do private label our own media. We deal with all the major media companies. Okay. Import and domestic. Okay. It's what we can, what's available, for instance. I try not to, you know, if there's one particular media, especially in today's day and age with the supply chain, you got to have alternatives. There are, you know, throughout the country, there's numerous places that you can get medias. Okay, you know, Washington Mills, abrasive finishing, vibra finish, and then people like Precision Finishing, you know, is a local rep for us, and we work with them on the chemistries, like their ASF process. A lot of people stock medias. Like, for instance, that one thing we've done is we have a decent stock, but as far as choosing the right medias, I tell you, the best way to figure it out is send us sample parts, and we'll run sample parts for you, help create a process. Okay. And we'll give you that recipe with the machinery settings, the type of media we use, the speed, the time cycles, the chemistries, the concentration, all that, and just give you that recipe. And like I said, we have alternatives.
Okay. With that being said, I was going to ask you, how are things as far as the supply chain is concerned, not just with the media, but what about with your machines and everything? Have you had a delay in product as far as?
Uh, I'm not gonna lie. Almost every day's been a new kick in the nuts.
Yeah.
It's when you think it's almost like whack-a-mole. It's like when you finally solve one problem, three more pop up.
I love your analogy.
Yeah,
I can
well, I'm
see
trying
that.
to be realistic, and
No, I understand.
I don't want to lie to the guy. You know, the guy's telling me, he's like, "Well, what's your lead time?" I'm like, "Are you sitting down?" You know, as I tell him, I'm out right. They're taking, they're running through our shop floor right now and showing all the medias. I mean, we've probably got in stock, I don't know, a good 100,000 pounds plus easily right now, with lots more. I mean, I've got several trucks on order. Okay, when they get here, they'll get here. I mean, all the manufacturers are backed up. Okay, besides what's caught in the Long Beach port or Seattle port or, you know, New York. I mean, and I believe we've got some that come in through Georgia as well. Like I said, we've got media coming in from all over the world, you know, and I try to stay in the U.S. as much as possible, but there are certain medias that just, they don't make in the U.S. You have to go overseas to get them.
But what I do, you know, I like about your company is that the fact that, you know, you can help somebody, a first-time buyer, come up with a formula to get what they need to have accomplished. And it looks to me like somebody is showing us the different types of media that you have available.
That's
for
correct.
your
Well,
different
that's
machines.
just the tip of the iceberg of the different medias you see over there. They've got our black high density. I see our red OM plastics, probably one of our biggest movers, porcelain. But what I'm trying to show off in our media kits are the medias that we generally keep in stock. Okay. And you got specialty media. You see that bright yellow media over in the corner? That was developed. That's just dyed. And that was done to, for visual inspection. I had a customer that was doing machined housings, okay, in some type of a pump. And majority of the ceramic medias are gray, and so are the castings. Well, the operator didn't catch it, and there was a catastrophic failure in the field. Cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, okay, to fix it. So a couple cents more per pound to dye that media, well, they're paying for it. It's a standard now for them, okay? But above that, you see some porcelain spheres, okay? We've got multiple different sizes. That's popular in the header market. Okay. Generally, a lot of people have run a 3-4-6 mix has always been popular for years. We found by eliminating the 3s and just going with a 4 and a 6, you get a much better action in the machine, and you're really not going to see the difference in that 1 millimeter, okay, of reach. However, the action in the machine is far more important. And that's another reason why we put the variable frequency drive on there, okay, to help get that roll.
Well, that right there gives, I mean, Jeffrey Bell was asking about the variety of media, so I'm glad you were able to show him, you know, in your little array
media kit
of what you have available. But at the same time, he asked, you know, what type of chemistries are there for your vibratory machines, and why do you use them?
The main purpose of the chemistry or the chemical for a vibratory process or to use in mass finishing processes to keep a fresh abrasive surface on the stone. Also, depending on the type of parts you have, if you've got oily parts, you're going to want some sort of a degreaser in there. If you've got ferrous metal parts, you're going to want some sort of inhibitor in there. When you get to plastic, okay, one of the things with plastic media, you're going to want a defoamer, okay, because plastic media tends to get this heavy, dense sludge foam. It's horrible. It's a mess. However, we've got a chemistry out there. So probably one of our best movers is our GF224. It really knocks that down. It keeps it to a minimum. And most people, okay, when they first try it out, they don't put enough in and it starts foaming up. So what they automatically do, and I've you know, guilty of this myself. I did it. I went ahead and you cut back on the soap and cut back on the water. Well, it gets worse. And it's like, oh man, I don't want to deal with this. And I get people call up and tell me, I go, listen, humor me. I said, listen to me very carefully. Increase the chemistry and increase the water flow. And then I'm like, listen, I know this sounds wrong, but trust me on this. I said, try this and then call me back. Mm-hmm. I said, I've done it myself. I wouldn't believe it if I wouldn't have done it myself, because there's a built-in defoamer in there, kills it. It's unbelievable. It kills the foam.
Really?
Yep. It's fantastic. I mean, it's hard to believe, but it's true. It goes against, it takes away from the traditional finish, the vibratory finishing.
Now, are you able to recycle the water during this process?
It depends. I am against or I don't like recycling. I frown upon it. I know it depends on what part of the country you're in or what part of the world. Everybody's got different regulations. Okay. Think of it this way. Do you want to take a bath in the same water after me and Christopher have taken it?
Not really.
Okay.
I prefer not.
Well, that's the best analogy. When I to meet, I tell people about around the boardroom, and I just asked the guy, he was like, well, that's the same thing with your part. I mean, it's the best analogy that people get an understanding. I mean, yes, you can filter the water. Okay. Yes, I know that, technology is getting better every day, and we do help, and we sell wastewater systems as well and help guide. There's a lot. I mean, usually I know enough about wastewater to get myself into trouble. Okay. But there are many different types of systems out there. I mean, we've got the simple settling tanks. Gravity comes to work every day. Okay. And guys, if aesthetics is not important, that's fine. But think of it this way. If say you run the water you have a settling tank and you're forced to recycle, you run it for a week. Those parts you start off Monday morning at 7 a.m., pristine clean. Now think about it. You're recycling the water. You run all week.
Right.
Friday at lunch, what do you think that water looks like?
I don't even want to try to imagine what it looks like. Like I say, it's almost like, as you're pointing out, everybody taking a bath from Monday to Thursday, and all of a sudden it's your turn on Friday, and it's like, do you want to get in that water? No.
Yeah.
And the finish is going to reflect that.
Yeah. Right now, it looks like they just walking by our blast cabinet. Okay, it's a pressure blast cabinet. It's a 54 by 46 pressure. Okay, that's your traditional using aluminum oxide, glass beads. My guys, this is in our lab. My guys mainly use it for aluminum oxide to apply a profile prior to paint or powder coat.
Uh-huh. Now you said glass beads in that particular cabinet preferred?
Well, when we run samples, but my guys in the shop, when we're using it for manufacturing, we have it as a test cabinet for guys that come in. They come in with the, when you go to Harbor Freight and you buy the inexpensive cabinet and, they're having problems. I go, okay, bring your sample parts and come in, and I want you to blast with this one and notice the difference. And it's like, whoa, the power and how quickly you clean. I'm like, it's time savings. Okay. Yeah. And it's easy. And the guys, and they're like, well, my guys don't really blast that much. I said, well, because you got a crappy cabinet. I said, you blast with a good cabinet. I said, they're going to use it a lot more, and he's like, yeah, you're right. And the guys come in, they play with it. And we invite people in all the time to get hands-on. Okay. Here's our slurry cabinet. Okay. In our slurry cabinet, now what a slurry cabinet is, imagine your dry blast cabinet. Now introduce water to it and a slurry. You can also blast greasy, oily parts where you couldn't do that in a traditional dry blast cabinet. That's an added benefit. Now, Giant got into the slurry blasting. We just figured it was a fantastic fit because if you think about it, vibratory and centrifugal, it's kind of a slurry. It's just with preformed shapes, okay, and much larger. Here we can get down finer into the little nooks and crannies where a piece of media would either get lodged or bridge over and not be able to reach into. We can get in there.
Well, I'm glad you did it. And are you trying to do my job? Because Jeffrey Bell just sent the same question. Hey, can you blast greasy parts in your cabinet?
I'm going to be honest, it popped up on the screen.
Yeah.
I saw that on the screen, so I might as well just jump right on it.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's perfect. But at the same time, could they go back and show, I want to see the reclaimer system that you run on your particular cabinets, either one of them. I mean, I'd like to see those.
Brian, you got that? Hang on a second.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's what I was trying to see, how that was attached and how much space it took up.
That particular one's a 900 CFM reclaim.
And does that work? You know, what's the PSI that needs to be hooked to it to make it, work properly? You know, 70 PSI.
That depends on how delicate your parts are and what you're trying to do. It's adjustable. I mean, we can go down as low as 20. We can go well over 100. Okay.
Okay.
You have to worry about the angle that you're blasting at. Okay. So, I mean, you don't want to just be, if you blast at a 90-degree angle, you're just going to be going through media, tearing up media. You want to go more of 45. Okay. So you're not wasting media. You could reuse it. Also with the higher you blast in pressure, the more you're going to go through. But then again, if you've got delicate parts, you don't want to warp them.
No, I get where you're coming from. You know, if you want to take an aluminum piece and wanted to get some old paint off of it, but you don't want to warp it up, but you need to be, I know what you're saying right there. I think the other thing is when we talk about a compressor, how much volume do we need to have compressor wise? I mean, you can't go down to Lowe's and get just, one of those little roll rack compressors.
I mean, that would be, for your hobbyist type cabinets, guys do that, right? 5 horse, something like that. General, unless for a cabinet, I don't know, maybe a 25 horse for a shop. Okay. However, I've got projects all the time that are going to require a 50 horse compressor just by themselves, not to mention your traditional shop area. It just depends. Like when you get into these automatics and things of that nature. That's a very important question to ask when you get into a blasting project is knowing what shop, because it's a considerable expense. That has to be.
Yeah, it is. But when you spend that kind of money, if you don't have that other component, neither one of them can complement each other. You got a cabinet that's definitely can do more, but you got a compressor that won't let it. So it's like you got to match it up. And
we do that all the time when working on projects on some of these larger projects. That's also got to be figured into the budget. Hey guys, we only got so much air power. We need an additional compressor. This compressor is going to be dedicated just for this machine or system.
The other thing too, and it's going back to your original cabinet you showed us and talking about the number of hours it needs to be in there. Does it come with a timer?
It does.
Okay.
Well, here, timers can be put on there. I'm going to be honest with you. Timers, I've found more parts get damaged with a timer than it helps. In theory, it's a fantastic idea. And I get the concept when people are coming, but it's the reality of people. And I don't care where you are in the world, because I've seen this all over the world. If you put a timer on that machine and it's set, and the timer is going to be shutting off at 3:15, and those guys go home at 3:30, and they're throwing elbows out the door. If they don't hear that machine running, they're gone. Okay. If that machine is running, you got a chance that they hear it. Like, hey, we better go turn off the machine. Oh, if they got to turn off the machine, more than likely there are parts inside. That means they got to take the parts out. Okay. I've seen parts get etched, rusted, destroyed. And I mean, you either have to rerun them, you might have to blast them, or you might have scrapped them. You know, like I said, it all depends. I'd love the extra sale, but sometimes, like I said, it works against you. Things we've done, or, tricks, or what I've told people to do, you got to, if you want a timer, have it a satellite, okay, that it's not connected, but something irritating, a big buzzer or something, because we've made control panels with lights and things of that nature and PLC control, but unless it irritates, people, the operators, they ignore it, or they got earplugs in, or they don't care. Like I said, it's got to be something that annoys them to get them to go over and turn it off.
Well, that's good to know, because I was sitting there thinking, I said, man, just, put this stuff in here. It's got to be in there 6-8 hours and just go home for the night and come back, and first thing in the morning, it'll be done. But now
for instance, let's get back to, utilizing that with that ASF process. Okay. That ASF process. We can supply you with a control panel that will run one chemistry for so many hours. Then it's going to flush. Then it's going to put the next chemistry and run so many hours. Then it's going, and we've done that. And then, shutting off the machine. Okay. That can be done. Okay. But it's pricey. Okay. It requires a lot of computer programming. I mean, but then again, that's what today's technology is. Tomorrow, you'll be able to run your machine from your iPhone. It's coming, I mean, a lot of the guys out there still have they've had a used Vibe they found, it's 50 years old. It's old school technology, no variable speed, and they work, you might have to modify a few things on it, but it just, shows you proof of concept. It can be done. It's just nowadays everybody wants hands off because it's a shortage of labor. They can't find people to work. The machines are reliable. They show up on time every day, sober, no complaints. It's like a reliable employee. Got to treat them like gold.
I hear you. Well, let's talk some more about the difference between now the drive media and everything now, and let's focus a little bit more on, as far as washing and getting them into the chemical process that you guys have the ability to, to do. What can you give us an illustration of how much more that benefits you versus just doing the dry media?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
As far as when you put the chemical in, as far as that part of the process, how it differentiates to what we saw a little earlier.
Absolutely. Yes. By cutting the surface refinement, for instance, by using that ASF process, you're putting a better surface finish on your part.
Right.
Okay. You're taking off the peaks. Okay. You're reducing friction. Okay. You're able to run your parts will run cooler, which means they'll run longer. Okay. Less potential for stress fractures. Versus the final cob, the final polish, that's more just luster and bling. Okay. That's just more eye candy.
That's that diamond finish at one time you were talking about. You can put on one to a certain degree. Yes.
Yeah, that showroom diamond, platinum, whatever you want to call it. It catches people's attention. I mean, we'll have a bunch of those parts, in the booth next week, and then I'll do it again for SHOT Show. Okay, for the gun guys. Okay, I mean, I've got, for instance, I got one here on my desk. I'm getting ready. It's a forging for an AR-15. Doesn't have to look like this, but it just shows our capabilities.
That's sweet. That really is. Really looks nice. So how about, showing us the difference? I know we've seen the vibratory machine, the tumbler and everything. What about your centrifugal barrel?
He's going back there right now. Hang on.
Okay. He's showing us some parts that have been finished polished. That's what I'm looking at there? Valve covers.
I don't know if he heard you or not. There we go.
Okay, there it is.
Looks like a mailbox.
Yep.
It's probably our most popular model. It's a 40-liter machine, 4 barrels. Can we open it? I don't know if you got power to open it up or not. I think they got the other machine packed up. I got another one cut out for the show it's got a window in it. I think they got that prepped. They're on the truck already. See if we can open it up.
So your upcoming schedule as far as trade shows are concerned, you're going to PRI next week,
correct.
Next weekend?
That is
and
correct.
Then you said the SHOT Show following that. And when does
that
happen?
Yeah, the SHOT Show will be in January in Las Vegas.
Okay.
That's, I want to say the week of the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long show.
When you say that, well, how many days is it?
Technically 4, but there's 5. There's also a supplier showcase, which we're a part of as well.
Okay.
Where it's like the Monday, Tuesday are the first 2 days is supplier showcase. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is actual SHOT Show. Okay. So technically I got 2 booths going once, and it's, pulling double duty. I got people manning both booths. That Tuesday's rough. But then setup for it is a week long, and Vegas is a madhouse at that point in time.
All right, you've got me on this one right here a little bit, so you're gonna have to explain it to me.
Shoot.
What can you do to get rid of plastic foam? You say it's an absolute mess.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned our GF224. That chemistry I told you, that if you have the plastic foam, that's an absolute mess. And most people will cut back on the water and the chemical, or they'll cut off the chemical, and it actually makes it worse. What I'm telling you is do the exact opposite of what you would normally think. Increase the water flow and increase the chemistry, and the foam will disappear. It'll get cut down dry. There you go.
Okay.
There's our GF224. Popular.
And that is a chemical that y'all have come up with, that you've helped to create for your machine.
It's made in the United States for Giant. Correct.
For Giant. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay.
We've teamed up with one of our distributors. As a matter of fact, their main claim that they're chemical they're good in the process, and they created that ASF process. Okay. But our GF224 is, I'll put it up against anybody's. Works fantastic with plastic media. Plastic, especially when working with aluminum. Okay, it's just beautiful finish. The surface finish is second to none.
With that being said, what's the life expectancy of the media that plastic media that you use normally? Is you got to change out every week, or how does that work?
No. Well, and that's once again another. Depending on the type of parts you use, and this is for all media, not only plastic media, there's different grades. For instance, how aggressive, the more aggressive the media is, the faster it's going to wear, the more often you're going to have to replace it. There are certain, depending on the type of parts you have. Now, if you've got blind holes and things where media can get lodged into, at that point in time, you need to weigh out the pros and the cons of how much it's costing you to change out the entire machine with media versus how much time it's taking them to pick media out of the parts and potentially damaging your parts. There are little tricks of the trade you can do. Like for instance, with aluminum parts, if you put in a bucket of hot water, the metal moves, and a lot of times the media will just fall right out. Okay. Other time, but you've got operators out there with a flathead screwdriver. If you've got a precision aluminum part and he's sitting there with a chisel or a flathead screwdriver, he's damaging and gouging your part.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, come on, just change out the media. You know, I said, what does that cost? What's your scrap rate alone is killing you. Yeah. Okay. So it's, you know, penny wise and dollar foolish. And other times I got guys that all they have to do is add media and it doesn't matter. Like the wheel guys. Okay. Because there's so many different configurations, you start with a working mix and just buy the big stuff. And it just all eventually wears down and goes down the drain. Okay. Oh, right there, he's showing you 10 cubic foot bowl. Or no, I'm sorry, that's a 20 that we got out there. One of our bigger machines. No, but and the same thing goes, like I said, with ceramic and plastic both. They got different grades, and it just depends on the type of parts you're working with. If you've got the precision parts and you don't want to deal with the lodging, there's that centrifugal barrel for the show. Okay, that's the one with a cutout window, and you've got different barrels in there. Okay, we've got a barrel that's a bolt-on end barrel. We've got one that's latched barrel. You've got divided clamshell style barrel where it opens up from the top and you could put dividers in there. And then the last barrel that you're seeing in there is, or it's actually half barrels for smaller parts, or if you want to segregate smaller compartments.
Okay. Now, again, Jeffrey Bell is really interested, I think, in your product right now, because he wants to know, you know, do you just jump the chemical into the machine, you know, in a cup, or how do you add the chemistry or the chemical to the machine?
The ideal situation would be, if you're not recycling the water, would be a chemical mixing unit, like a portioner. There's Chemtrol has a dosatron unit. We've got an auto premixing compound system, which is more of a hydrominer type setup, where it's a float sensor. When there's an automatic call for water, it siphons the amount of chemistry to water. The ratio is mixed through a color-coded tip, and it mixes in the bottom of a reservoir. From that bottom of a reservoir, it pumps through a flow meter into the machine through a reservoir. I mentioned that dosatron unit, it pumps in line. It seems to be a little more precise, okay, with the chemistry, and they have ranges. You know, you go down to 0.25% up to 5%, or maybe even more, depending on the type of unit you're working with. Okay, there are other type of mixing units as well, but we do try to keep it as simple as possible. Okay, the less, especially for something like this, the less things for your operator to mess with, the less chances I'm going to get the phone call that the parts are coming out looking like crap.
Last but not least, I needed to get clarification on how do you keep, I've got a part I want to put in there, but I want to change this surface. I want to polish it, but this surface, I want to leave it alone. I like what it is, or it doesn't need to be polished. How do you do that with the machine?
You would more than likely have to mask the part or plug it. For instance, it's popular, for instance, with the journals on crankshafts. Okay, like with that ASF process, we'll mask the journals or those, you know, critical surfaces for, say, hypothetically, if it's a 6-hour process, okay, in the cut for 5.5 hours, we'll mask that part. Okay, after the 5.5 hours, we'll take off the masking and put it back in there. Let it run for about 20 minutes, half hour, with, you know, kind of to blend it, and then finish off. And in the next process, or that, you know, burnish stage, I'm not worried about affecting that surface finish. Okay, just in the cut, you know, and that ASF process gets down to, you know, to a millionth of an inch. So we can meet some tight tolerances.
Okay. So just regular masking tape will take care of it.
No. Well, Usually we found electric tape works very well. Okay.
Okay.
And they've got different masks out there. Okay. For the guys that are actually making the cranks and things of that nature, they've got specialty rubbers, things of that. Hot glue works. There's a lot of, tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
Well, here, a popular trick for ring gears, okay, to make sure you don't get any media lodging, use earplugs. Those foam earplugs, they're cheap. Every shop has them, and the only time they use them is when OSHA walks in the door.
Oh man.
Well, think about it.
No, I just, again, you say tricks of the trade. I mean, you've been around and you've done it enough, and it's like figuring it out to where you're not wasting time and money in a process. I mean, that's what I'm hearing from you. I've got a machine that's going to help you save time, but all of a sudden we don't need to have a guy sitting there cleaning this out. We don't need to do it. I mean, you've learned, through trial and error, and you're advising people out there, this is what we can do. We can have a machine that polishes and gets your stuff where you want it. We're going to show you how to finish what you started, but we don't want to create more work once we get to the end of the process. And that's just how we're going to do it.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, I've been doing this for over 2 decades already. Okay. It's a family business, been doing it pretty much all my life, and a lot of trial and error. And I'm a realist. Okay. I've failed many a times, but I've learned from my mistakes, and we've also been very successful on multiple occasions. Okay. And we pass that information on. We share it with our customer. When they're successful, we're successful, because if they're successful, they pass that on, Well,
partner, I tell you what, Mark, I mean, this is the second time I've talked to you and I've seen your product, and I love your brutal honesty. I mean, I love it. The fact that, you're not being rude, but you're being straightforward. And I think anybody out there right now that's thinking about Giant as far as the product and the processes that you have available, they should love that. If not, I feel sorry for them. And I'm just telling you my business opinion, that if I had a need to have one of your machines, that's what it would get my attention, is the fact that you're the kind of person that's going to tell me like it is. You're not going to make a sale without convincing me that I've got the best product, and I've got a guy that can tell me how to fix anything if it comes up. So I like that. I really do.
Jeff, I appreciate that. And I think our customer base would agree with you. Maybe that's one of the reasons we're busy. I've been doing that. My thing is, I don't need the headaches. We're busy enough as it is. I said, I don't want those stupid, I don't need the hate mail. Okay.
No.
I'm dealing with, with the supply chain, lack of employees and things. I got enough problem. If I don't want to sell a machine, if it's not, or a process, if it's not going to work. If I'm confident, I mean, I offer to run sample parts. I offer, hey, why don't you come on in? We'll run parts together. If I'm iffy about it, I'll walk away.
Yeah, I think you're doing it the right way, in my opinion. And again, we know your product is great, and I know that Francis and Judy will both probably back me up on this, and saying thank you very much for being a part of Industry Week.
Absolutely.
Showcasing your product, and good luck with everything you got coming up in the future.
All right.
Thank you, Mark.
Good,
Thank you very much.
That was a delight walking around all your machines.
The concept for EPARTRADE is basically, in my opinion, there's a big hole in the internet. So the internet started many years ago, but there's never been an online business community for racers on the World Wide Web. The need for EPARTRADE is actually quite obvious. Basically, people in the business of auto racing need a place online to hang out and get their problems solved.
It's extremely simple for a buyer or for a supplier to interact on the platform. The first thing you need to do is sign in, which is free. And the second thing is, when you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information. If it's a company, you click on request more information, and then from there it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
You can go to epartrade.com, you become part of a community of businesses in racing, and it makes sourcing products much easier than just on the internet or using Google.
At EPARTRADE, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier through an email.
More than that, it's a place to go just to keep current every day. So it's a good place to start your workday in your racing business or in your offices of your professional race team. And you know you're current when it comes to new technology, industry news, technical papers, technical videos, all of that and more. We're not looking for a million hits per day. All we want is people who are really the volume buyers of racing products in the racing industry to be part of the little world of EPARTRADE. We have racing businesses participating from around the world. So you get suppliers from around the world, you get buyers from around the world.
EPARTRADE really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
There are two types of people, racers and everyone else. Racer Magazine is for those who believe that racing is a way of life. Racer embodies the excellence that defines a sport driven by passion, courage, and ingenuity. Get 1 year of both Racer's print and digital edition for only $39 with instant access to our entire digital issue archive. Subscribe now at info.racer.com.